and welcome to this final episode of Season 1 of Redefining the Customer Journey, where we take a deep dive into how anyone, from a local small business owner up to a corporate CEO, can build a modern business that is flexible and able to quickly adapt and evolve. Specifically, in this episode, we're going to give you some major takeaways on the topic of the employee experience. This is where the process matches with the people. With these easy to implement business principles, you're going to make more money while saving hundreds of hours by implementing a few simple steps. We've all seen businesses collapse because they were built on weak foundations, riddled with problems in their day to day, which are also unnecessarily complex to grow and scale. We want to help you build something that leverages your time and resources for maximum effectiveness without sacrificing your customer experience. I'm Paul Sokol, founder of BPro, best-selling author of the Infusionsoft cookbook, which contains over 80 CRM-based business recipes for automated follow-up. And I've been helping small to medium-sized businesses under 50 million annually grow with automations since 2008.
And I'm Bobby Purcell, founder of LeadPass.com, which helps you set your business processes on autopilot to free up more time and make more sales. I've been in automation since 2016, primarily in the financial space. And in each episode, we are going to cover one specific CRM topic to explain what it is, why it's important, common problems, and the best solution we've seen throughout our experience to solve for them. And as we mentioned, for today's episode, we are going to be talking about the employee experience. So this is kind of like the internal customer journey of what it is for your team to experience, how to hire, inspire, fire, and kind of walk you through everything that goes about hiring, firing, and inspiring your employees.
Yeah, so if you want to know what is the employee experience, in my approach to business academically, this is basically the analog of marketing, sales, and fulfillment, but just for your internal employees. So, you hire them and then you're inspiring them as they work for you in your day to day, and then eventually people get off the bus and you fire them. That's how it is. So why is this important? Why, and specifically from a CRM context, that's what we're talking about, is how do you use your CRM in your hiring? How do you use it in your inspirational part? How do you use it when you fire somebody and get them off of your team? Um, so why is this important? I would say that the first thing that this does is it aids with team retention, especially in that inspiration phase. So, like, when you're very clear about the regular, periodic things that an individual contributor discusses with their leader, that's going to really help with team retention and the development of your people. And we talked about this a little bit in the last episode with the daily operations. Why else is the employee experience important, Bobby? What would you tell people?
Yeah, so it really drives the productivity and the development of your team. So if you don't have anything in place, like if you have a poor morale within your team, the productivity is always slacking. If you don't build a proper team from the start, the development over time is going to go like off the rails. So it really starts with the foundational core of exactly what is clear, clean, clear, and concise of what you want to happen throughout the history of the employee, and hopefully it doesn't go off track, which is, when you fire them or have to find a replacement pretty quick. Yes. So the common issues is, usually the lack of definition around roles and responsibilities, right?
Absolutely.
And if it's even like needless redundancy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll see people where they have like a marketing team and sales team, but then you have marketing people that are kind of doing sales activities, and then you have salespeople that are like kind of doing marketing activities, and with this overlap, it's just inefficient, and it creates redundancy that you don't need there. In fact, I saw a thread the other day where some lady was like, "I think I need to hire another assistant for me because they've got too much going on." And I kind of flamed her a little bit. And I'm like, listen, nobody needs more than a single assistant. What that means is that you actually need to hire for a specific role, because obviously your assistant is doing more than just assisting you. And even that's kind of like, I have a personal beef with, this whole virtual assistant thing, because really they'll just have somebody that's in this multifunctional role where they're doing marketing stuff and sales stuff and fulfillment stuff. And then they're also doing like operational things, but they're still a virtual assistant when in any legitimate business that's at least three or four different roles, and you don't want to have that. Which actually, talking about common issues here, um, that's a really big common issue is just being unclear and not consistent in those processes, specifically around hiring. Not having a clear, this is why I'm bringing you on. Some people, I need a virtual assistant is because they're just such a mess under the hood with themselves personally. They want someone to play cleanup behind them. That's not really a role. That's almost like a babysitter. Um, and if you're going to hire for that, well, you better tell people here's exactly how I'm supposed to operate my emails. Here's exactly how my calendar is supposed to go, like this kind of stuff. And that's a big common issue is that you have, and I'm going off on a slight tangent here, but you have, employees or contractors that you're hiring mostly just to fill in your slop. And that's not good. That's not going to grow. And especially with regards to a CRM, like that ain't going to work, you know? Um,
Yeah, I see this all the time. And it's usually companies that are like a couple of $1 million in revenue and they hire someone to lead their marketing team or their, technology portion of their business, like manage their CRM. And they're always like, they came from this company with 11 years of experience. Well, 11 years ago, none of these systems were in place. They basically were hired as a manager or worked into a manager role because probably someone else had left, but they don't have the technical skills to walk through the processes of all the marketing department. Like they don't know how to, like when someone says I'm running the marketing department and they have no idea what a Facebook pixel is or how to do like Google ads or anything that relates to it or what the processes of automation are. Like you got to really walk backwards and say, hey, why did I hire this person or why am I giving them control over one of the most lucrative and most important processes of my entire business as a position,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Which takes us back to the hiring, like hiring, inspiring, and firing, right? So, like, something that I see all the time is that there's no intentional leadership or development beyond that initial onboarding, if there is even an initial onboarding. They might bring somebody on, but there's nothing in place to continue to develop these people, to continue to help develop and level these people up, which big corporations do have that. And that's why large corporations are the bulk of the hires and employers, especially in places like America, because they actually care enough to develop leadership programs and career progression paths and whatnot. You can absolutely do this in your CRM if you care enough. My big takeaway from this, which even the dog kicking the tripod agrees, I would say care enough about this. Because if you want your business to grow and scale, your employee experience actually needs to be more important than your customer experience.
Yeah. And especially like when you come to things like what is their alignment? Like what metrics are we supposed to be tracking right now? What are the KPIs leading to inconsistent team and leadership expectations? Like what are these bad behaviors or positive behaviors that they are or are not doing that is ultimately making their job successful or unsuccessful? And an easy one to track is always their marketing department or their technology department. Like, because you can track specifically, this is the amount of dollars we put out in advertising. These are the processes that we put in place to retain customers, re-engage customers, or, you know, add them to our nurture cycle campaign. So in 6 months, we can retarget them and have them as a new customer. So it's all very easily able to be tracked. And you can do this all through an employee experience. If you think about why did I hire this person from the start if they weren't supposed to be the person that,
Yeah. And
should have gotten that job?
yeah, and so let me give you a good ground example of like a metric or a KPI for marketing, right? So I've got a client, they bring a bunch of new contacts into their system all the time, but it's very common for those contacts to have already existed in the system. And it's also very common for those contacts to already have a lead or an opportunity or whatever in the pipeline already. So that's actually a metric. Those are metrics that are measured. It's like how many new contacts versus how many attempted opportunities are created versus the actual number of opportunities that were created. Because if somebody's already in an active conversation, you don't want to create two people in the, two leads in the same pipeline for a person. It's just a waste of time, right? But if you're not aligned on that and you're not clear on what those KPIs are, you could have somebody that on paper they look like they're doing great, but the ground level reality is they're not bringing in enough new leads, or qualified leads, or whatever the case is. And that leads me to another really big common issue. This is, I would venture to say, this is the biggest takeaway of the entire season. A bad leader will tank a great group of people. I have seen countless businesses, big and small, where you have a bunch of great people on the front lines or a bunch of amazing middle managers, but the person they report to, for lack of a better term, is a piece of work. And they lose motivation, they lose productivity, people are quitting, and the business is like, why, what's this happening? And they never look at the leader. um, a bad leader will take an entire good team out faster than one bad person on the front lines not doing their job. And you can see
Yeah.
this in your
And
CRM when you're looking at the right numbers, which go look back at episode 10 on reporting to learn more about how to look at your right numbers.
And so like a really good solution for this is to have like a structured onboarding programs and mentorship opportunities so that you could get someone into those roles of leadership or running a department that you can say, okay, perfect. They've met all the previous requirements that are there. And here's where they need to go next in their career. Because it's like, it is crazy. Because if you're not a very technical person and you don't know a lot about marketing, anyone who comes into your business who says that they're really good at technology or marketing, well, you really don't have anything to compare them against except for what they're saying. Because in reality, how do you even know?
Mm-hmm.
Here are APIs, and unless you have someone above them, it's really hard to determine if they're going to be actually able to do their job until 3 months later when you realize that their department is gone, or like a waste of money.
Mm-hmm. And that
So
gets down to, in the last episode we talked about daily operation, talk about naming conventions earlier in episode 3. Having all this stuff in place will help you as a business determine if somebody's actually qualified to be in a place or not. I talked with a client literally this morning where they had somebody helping them with their ads, and this client has a way of how they do things, and they do a lot of advertising on Meta on Facebook, and they will do a lookalike audience, but only a 1% lookalike audience because they've been doing this for years, and like that's where they know their people are at. This new ad person came on and they started doing like 2 to 3% lookalikes, 5 to 10, and because things were documented and because they know what their tolerances are and their KPIs, this leader was like, "Listen, you didn't understand the assignment. We are not doing anything other than a 1% lookalike." And there was a place to stand for them to say, "Listen, this is how you need to be running ads because this is how we do it." And until there's better information in the future as to why maybe we should expand the net, don't. you know um, which is and that's a common issue that I see. Is It's really a lack of transparency due to the fear of looking bad. People will not be honest, and leaders in particular will not be honest about the true reality of something because they don't want to look bad. Guess what? Sometimes things aren't all happy puppies and rainbows and nice smelling flowers. Sometimes things suck. Period. That's just the way of business. Sometimes you look at your CRM and you're like, "Wow, these numbers are terrible, and I'm not happy about it." It is only a disservice to your people and your business to not share that. So be transparent. The right people will understand it for what it is and work as a team to fix it. And the wrong people will quickly bubble to the top as someone you need to skim off and offboard there.
um, I mean, holding them to a standard is probably a really good next portion of this. So for the best solution, it might be develop a cadence of periodic meetings, reviews, just so that they always know, like this, listen, this is what we're expecting of you. Let's follow up in a month or 2 weeks from now or 3 months from now, and just consistently say, okay, here are all your KPIs. Here's what we're tracking of you. Are you doing this? Are you performing the way you should be? So that in a year from now or 6 months from now, you don't look back and say, hey, where did all this time go? Where are the projects? Where's our revenue that we were supposed to get? And lead based on data so that you can know how to manage the people efficiently.
Yes,
And that's kind of
and that that can't be done in your CRM. So sorry to cut you off, Bobby, but yes, we're talking about periodic meetings, periodic reviews. You can build this into your CRM. In my own business, and yet every official employee of my business has an email they get every Friday that says, "Go report on your top 3 MBOs, management by objectives." And every single individual, when they're onboarded, they're given their MBOs, and uh, every week we can see who is actually reporting on what their MBOs are. Um, that's something you can do in your CRM. Same thing with like quarterly reviews. You can have a whole workflow for getting those scheduled. The whole workflow of making sure that that stuff is reported on. Most people forget that they see the C in CRM as the customer relationship management, and they completely forget that it's just a database, and anybody can be a customer. So yes, go ahead and build your employee experience using your CRM, and your business is going to be phenomenal.
And I think that's really good to wrap up on today for this episode, Paul. So thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments, and make sure you watch the next episode. Actually, this is the last episode of the art and philosophy of CRM. Yeah, hope you liked it. We might be having a one for next season. Who knows? So to be informed, please subscribe now if you haven't already. And if you want to learn more about the customer journey, get Paul's free How to Automate Like a Pro mini course. And if you want to get some pre-built customer journey automations, please feel free to click the links below for some of mine. And either way, thank you so much. And we'll see you next time.